Hey, welcome. Have you ever just stopped and wondered how this smartphone in your hand or the computer you're watching this on actually, well, thinks? I mean, how does it go from being this lifeless chunk of metal and glass to a machine that can do pretty much anything? Well, today, we're going to dive deep. We're going to go on a journey from one single, simple switch all the way up to a digital brain. We're peeling back all the layers to see how it really works, right from the ground up. So first off, you've got to appreciate just how much computers are a part of our world. And I'm not just talking about your PC or your laptop. I'm talking about microcontrollers, these tiny hidden computers that are the brains inside countless devices, a lot of which you probably don't even think of as being computers.
I mean, just look at this list. A digital camera, a printer, a heart rate monitor. On the surface, they're all totally different, right? But here's the thing. At their core, every single one of them runs on the exact same fundamental principles. Each one has a little digital brain inside, making all the decisions. And yeah, that brings us to the big question for today. What's the magic that lets these circuits do things, run calculations, and process information? Well, I'm going to let you in on a secret. It's not magic at all. And it all starts with something incredibly simple. All right, to really get how a computer thinks, we have to go all the way down. To the absolute rock bottom, to the smallest, most basic building block of everything digital. We need to talk about the ultimate on-off switch. So, meet the transistor. You can think of it as a microscopic light switch. Seriously, that's it. It can be on, letting electricity flow, or it can be off, blocking it. That's its only job. But here's the wild part. Modern processors have billions of these tiny switches packed into a space smaller than your fingernail. Every single thing your computer does is built on this ridiculously simple idea. So this super simple on-off state, that's the foundation for the only language computers actually understand, binary. When a transistor is on, we call that a 1. When it's off, we call that a 0. That's it. That is the entire vocabulary of a computer, just 2 words, 1 and 0. Every instruction, every photo, every email, it's all just a long, long string of ones and zeros.
And this is where the scale of it all just gets insane. That video you're watching right now, your favorite song, it's all just an unbelievably long sequence of ones and zeros, represented by the on and off states of billions of little tiny switches. Mind-boggling, right?
Okay. So we have billions of switches that can store information as ons and offs. That's great for storing stuff, but how in the world do we get them to do anything with it? How do we teach a bunch of dumb switches to actually think? Well, the answer is all about combining them in really clever ways. The next step up the ladder is to combine these transistors into something called a logic gate. A logic gate is basically a little circuit that takes in one or more of those ones and zeros, and based on a very specific rule, it spits out a single 1 or 0 as the answer. This is the very beginning of decision-making. Let's look at one of the simplest ones, the AND gate. It's easy. It takes 2 inputs, let's call them A and B. It has one simple rule. The output is only 1 if and only if input A and input B are both 1. If either one of them is a 0, the output is 0. See? It's a tiny, basic little decision, but it's the foundation for literally all of computing. So you've got the AND gate, but there are a few other basic types too, like the OR gate, which gives you a 1 if either of the inputs is 1. And what's really cool is that these aren't just abstract ideas. You can literally buy them. This little chip right here, the 74HC00, has 4 separate NAND gates on it. These things are the real-world Lego bricks that everything digital is built from. All right, so now we have our building blocks, transistors that make up logic gates. So how do we get from these simple little decision makers to a full-on computer brain? Well, we start assembling them into something much, much bigger.
This is where we really start to scale up. By combining thousands of those and OR gates together in very specific patterns, engineers can build what's called an arithmetic logic unit, or an ALU. And this is the mathematical heart of the computer. It's the part that actually does the adding, the subtracting, and all the logical comparisons. And just remember, this whole complex thing, it's still just made of simple switches following simple rules. So let's just recap this whole hierarchy, because this is really the key to everything. It all starts with those individual transistors, the basic on-off switches. You combine those to make logic gates, which make simple decisions. Then, you combine those gates to build more complex functional units, like circuits that can add 2 numbers together. And finally, you assemble millions of these units to build the whole shebang,
the central processing unit, the CPU, the digital brain of the whole operation.
Okay, but a brain is no good if it can't remember anything, right? That's where stuff like RAM comes in. The CPU grabs its instructions and data from memory, does its calculations in the ALU, and then sends the results back to memory. And what's stored in that memory? You guessed it, just more ones and zeros held in place by millions more of those little transistors.
So when you step back and look at this whole journey, it's pretty incredible. We've gone from a simple switch, which is basically made from silicon, purified sand, all the way up to a machine that can predict the weather, create art, and connect billions of people around the world. And this right here, this is the single most important thing to take away from all of this. The intelligence of a computer isn't in some single magical component. It's what we call an emergent property. It's the magic that happens when you take billions of incredibly simple things, give them a few dead simple rules, and then make them do it millions of times per second. That's the secret to how computers think. So that leaves us with one last, kind of mind-blowing thought. For more than 50 years, the simple on-off switch has been the building block for our entire digital world. It's led to everything we have today, but now, as we start exploring new kinds of building blocks, like quantum bits or artificial neurons, it just makes you wonder, right? What unbelievable new things will they let us build tomorrow?